For N7 Day, we got this teaser that has some pretty recognizable music. So let's break down all the tracks in those 21 seconds. It's also important to note that there are various Mass Effect motifs that overlap and play throughout the games. So there are some sources that come from multiple tracks. And after breaking down the trailer, I'll go over where they play in the games and what they could be referencing. The first track that we hear in the trailer begins with Eden Prime starting at 5 seconds. Then at 6 seconds, an Andromeda track, titled The Garden Tower. And then at 11 seconds, we have another Andromeda track, which isn't actually titled or included in any tracks I could find from the original soundtrack. And the final track at 21 seconds is Horizon Sanctuary / Arlet Company. And these two tracks share the same first 30 seconds, which is what is in the trailer. Prior to the actual track starting, the louder, more prominent sounds can also be heard at 15 seconds and 26 seconds. And again, these are from the Horizon Sanctuary and Arlet Company tracks. We hear the Eden Prime track in Mass Effect 1 in the very first prologue mission that takes place on the human colony Eden Prime. You can hear the ambient background noise when you're speaking with Ashley, and then the little creepy sounds that play as soon as you see the husk on the spikes. We've already seen multiple references to Mass Effect 1, most recently with the codes that were also released on N7 Day, and specifically how they all used to be possible names for Mass Effect 1 before Mass Effect was settled on. Additionally, Mass Effect 3 has the same music from the From Ashes DLC, specifically the track Return to Eden Prime. And this song is an amalgamation of previous tracks, including Eden Prime from Mass Effect 1. To me, this track is very reminiscent of Mass Effect's origins and hearts of the game. This track being included is obviously intended to evoke nostalgia, but I do think it's also an implication that Mass Effect 5 will be returning to its roots. The next track used is The Garden Tower from Andromeda, and this is a pretty important one. This plays when you find the Angara bodies on Meridian, specifically the empty Angara genetic templates created by the Jardaan.
It appears that these beings are not Angara. They are not even alive.
I don't understand. They look so...
The Remnant language refers to these bodies as genetic templates.
A blueprint. Like the plants we saw.
I think what's in here is a sped up version, but it does have the same melody. And we've now seen an Angara in the poster from this year's N7 Day. So I'd say there are some pretty big implications here. And I've already made a timeline of relevant story threads that can connect the two galaxies, including the Jardaan's activities. And I'll be making a full video on the Jardaan in the future, but to summarize it, we don't know the Jardaan's origins, but we know that they might not have originated from the Helios cluster. They are responsible for the creation of the Remnant technology and the Angara, but not much else is known about them. We do know that they have access to technology that lets them transfer consciousness, similar to that of the virtual aliens that we hear about from Mass Effect 3. We also know that they have a connection to the Scourge, and that their war with whatever race they were warring with is apparently what caused the Scourge detonation. There are a ton of unresolved questions surrounding the Jardaan. We know nothing about them except that they are highly advanced and that they may share similar traits to humans. But as far as where they originated from, where they have been, and what they've been doing, we don't know anything. They'd be a perfect story thread to connect the two games. Maybe the Jardaan were in the Milky Way before their activities in the Helios cluster. Maybe the Jardaan are virtual aliens. That one's a stretch, but who knows? Maybe the Jardaan are Protheans. Maybe the Angara we're seeing in this art isn't an Angara at all. Maybe it is another Jardaan creation being inhabited by someone or an actual Jardaan. I feel like there are a ton of possibilities here, and this music and artwork featuring this specific track alongside an Angara feels very intentional. The next track in here is another Andromeda track, and this one seems like it is unnamed, and I couldn't find it in the soundtrack or this compilation of the 85 tracks from Andromeda. So I think it's more of a recurring motif used in Andromeda, most likely at various points. But I do remember it from meeting PB. Right as Ryder is about to touch the console, PB runs up and stops them.
Wait!
So now we're seeing a possible PB connection, another Remnant connection, and who made the Remnants, the Jardaan, and a reference to Ryder meeting a companion. Like I did say though, this could be a general music tidbit sprinkled all across the game, so it is more likely just an Andromeda reference without directly referencing a specific event. And the final bit of music is from Horizon Sanctuary and Arlac Company. These two tracks share the first 30 seconds and then change into their own melodies. But this portion of the matching 30 seconds is what is in the trailer. Mass Effect 3's Priority Horizon music starts playing right as you infiltrate the Cerberus base, and right when you make it to the Cerberus Command Center. This is where we find out that the refugees are being turned into husk.
This is going to get ugly, Shepard. Nothing good ever came out of Reaper Tech.
And we've already seen the Cerberus colors return. Gamble even liked a tweet where someone pointed out that these are Cerberus colors. And like the elusive man says, Cerberus isn't just an organization or the people behind it. Cerberus is an idea. That idea is not so easily destroyed. So yes, I fully expect them to make some kind of return. I don't think they'll be the main antagonist, but I think the idea of Cerberus, they will always be there. And as I said, Horizon shares the first 30 seconds with Arlac Company. And Arlac Company plays during Grunt's mission in Mass Effect 3. When you come across the first Rachni, the song starts playing right as the Rachni show up and during the initial fight. And we've already seen Krogan in both the art from this year's N7 Day, and it looks like there may be a possible Krogan in the very same teaser clip. And additionally, a Krogan that looks a lot like Rex in the first poster revealed back in 2021. Either way, there are a Krogan in the next game, as expected. So this potential callback to Grunt could be intentional. So, to sum it up, the music has references to the first human colony on Eden Prime, where Shepard first touched the beacon and where the adventure started. This is also the first time we see the Geth and what they were doing to humans. There's also a connection to the Jardaan, and more specifically their creation of the Angara and the vessels that they were creating. We also have another Andromeda track that could potentially be referencing PB or the Remnant technology. And then we have another track referencing both Cerberus and when we find out that they were turning refugees into husk. And then finally we have a reference to the Rachni, Grunt, and his Arlak company. Either way, half of the music is from the original trilogy, and half of it is from Andromeda, which is absolutely intentional. We've seen several references to Andromeda at this point, so I have no doubt that choosing tracks from Andromeda was another way of the team saying, hey, we didn't forget about Andromeda, nor are we abandoning it. And I do think the Jardaan would be a really cool way to connect the two galaxies. I've also seen some speculation that this music could represent our journey in the games. Start in the Milky Way galaxy, travel to Andromeda, and then back to the Milky Way galaxy. And maybe, I don't necessarily know if they've worked out those details yet, but it's definitely a possibility. And of course they could have chosen these tracks at random. My pointing out the connections could mean absolutely nothing. But I'd argue with the amount of connections to the other revealed bits we've seen so far, the use of these tracks is very intentional. But the game most likely hasn't even entered its production phase. So aside from the first teaser, it makes sense that they would reuse old music instead of having new music to pull from. So what do you think of all of these tracks being included? Do you think they point to any possibilities for Mass Effect 5? And I'll be going over every piece we've been given so far and how they all connect in my next video. Let me know what you think in the comments, and thank you to my N7 agents who have become members of the channel. Thank you for watching, and be on the lookout for more videos soon.